I would go to the opening of an envelope. I am not judgy. I'm not above anything. I just thought it was funny. Like, I really thought it was one of those like,
So how are you doing? How's life going? How are the kids doing?
I can't believe how fast the summer has gone by.
It's crazy.
It's pretty much over. I'm like, what is happening? So it's been really good. We've been busy. We've done a lot. There's really nothing to complain about.
Good. What grade are all the kids going into?
So Dove, the baby, she's in preschool. Then Cruz is going into 2nd grade. Slate is going into 4th. And then Bella's going into 8th.
Oh my God, that's crazy. How do you feel with all the kids in school now? I mean, I know Dove's probably just a few hours, but how do you feel having like that, time to yourself a little bit?
It's pretty nice. It's good, but it's a lot of like shuffling around, like between kids' schedules and agenda, like you're just racing around and then you're trying to be present with them, but also work. So, you know how it is.
It's nonstop. I think the last time we spoke, Cruz was definitely pushing for another baby. Is he still doing that? Hiding your birth control pills or something?
He's definitely given up on that. I'm like, it's absolutely not happening. For a while, Edwin joined in on asking, and I was like, nope, guys, that ship has sailed.
Well, I'm sure it's nice now that Dove's like, a little bit older, so you're finally like out of that like crazy newborn, baby phase, and like you can kind of all enjoy time a little bit. It's not as crazy.
I'm like, but she just started jumping out of the crib.
Oh no.
So that's when things like really get real. Like she's like, boom, and like pops herself out, and then we'll get back in and I can see it on the camera. I'm like, I see what you're doing.
You're like, you're giving me a heart attack.
Like, why do you have to jump so aggressively out of there?
I love it. And things are going so great with the podcast. It's really like the two of you and Tamra are such like a dynamic duo. Things have really like taken off for the two of you.
Thank you. For so long, and I think you probably remember this, you would, even with interviews with you, I was like, oh, I just don't want to talk about Housewives. Mm-hmm. And then I just realized like, iHeart had been asking me for a while, and finally I was like, should I just make lemonade out of lemons? People want to hear this, and you know what? To get paid to watch a television show, it could be worse.
It could be much worse. What do you feel like the audience gravitates towards the most? Is it those behind the scenes, like nuggets about the show, the drama? What do you think the audience really gravitates towards the most?
I think it's the behind the scenes, but I also think that regardless if it's Tam or even I had Megan King on, like whomever it is, like we are putting ourselves in positions to push each other on our opinions. So we don't just stay where it is, where sometimes even when you're filming Housewives, you don't want to push the envelope because you don't want to deal with the bigger repercussions, but we're just talking about a television show. Mm-hmm. So I can like separate and same with Tam, and we just have fun doing it. Plus on Thursdays, it's Thursdays. So champagne's involved. And so you never know what's going to happen.
Never know. It could get messy. Speaking of things that got messy, this whole thing with Jim Edmonds and the wedding invitation, just kind of walk me through this. Like, I know that you're not going to reveal who gave you the wedding invite, but like you got a hold of it, decided to talk about it. And then this whole thing just blew up. Were you ever expecting this?
Well, I think the most offensive thing about the texts or anything was the really letting me have it over the spelling of Courtney's name. I'm like, come on. It was such a joke. And here's the thing. You can't be named James and then have a James Bond themed wedding and it not be, but I didn't get a hold of it. Someone sent it to me and sent it to me in a group. A bunch of people were on the same thing. And then Courtney, Kortnie, which I learned, posted it herself. So please.
Were you surprised? Were you shocked that he reached out to you when you saw those like DMs or text messages? Were you like, I can't believe this is really happening right now?
I actually wasn't shocked because from everything that I saw of him on Orange County, it kind of just played right into exactly who I thought he was. Mm-hmm. And it's someone that take a joke. Take a joke. At this point. And Megan had nothing to do with it. She came in. I had just gotten sent in it. I'm on a podcast where we talk crap. I mean, that's what the podcast is. And, you know, this over the top invite came and I saw it and made a joke of it. And that is what it is. But I don't know what he expected me to respond and why it became such a dramatic thing, especially when she'd already posted it and his guests had already posted it, which is how I got it.
Yeah. Do you think he was probably just mad because Megan was involved in it as well?
I think he likes to get his own way and he uses a scare tactic in hopes that you'll back down. But once he started texting, I was fine the original text because I had already known he was upset because he called my reps, let him, but he had his reps call. And the reason I suggested Courtney's welcome to come on the pod was because his rep said that Teddi, Courtney, you know, could come on the pod and they could talk about it. But I would have never come up with that idea myself. Like, she wasn't on the show. There was no reason for that. I was giving an olive branch. Sorry you didn't take the joke. I'm willing to have her on. I have nothing against Courtney. I don't even know Megan more than the podcast. I mean, it is what it is. Like, it's, you know.
Is she still welcome? Is she still welcome to come on the podcast?
Courtney? Yeah. Sure. I mean, if you can laugh at yourself, I laugh at myself consistently. I can be annoying, over the top, all the things, talk with my hands, like, come at me, guys. But the only thing I didn't like was a man talking to a woman like that what did you want? And then I was like, you know what? I have the option where I could just keep going back and forth with him, or I'm just going to post what he said. And you know what? It made him stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you hear from him since you posted it? No. Do you think he'll ever get an apology?
No, absolutely not. I mean, the same way that, like, it is what it is. I just, if he's willing to talk to a complete stranger like that,
Would you ever go to a James Bond themed wedding?
Of course I would go. I mean, I would go to the opening of an envelope. I am not judgy. I'm not above anything. I just thought it was funny. Like, I really thought it was one of those, like, I mean, it's like, we all make mistakes, or we all say things that we think are brilliant ideas, but then some people may not. It's okay.
Yeah. What did you think of I mean, you know, like you said, you know, you watch back all the Housewives and you watched OC, her season with Jim. What did you make of their marriage back then?
I mean, Vicki was right. Vicki was right. And if you're really getting that, I mean, if my husband were to send a text message to an ex-housewife who did a podcast, I would be like, you have got to be kidding me. Get busier. Because remember, this is my job, one of my jobs. I'm being paid to talk about the world of Housewives. It's not Jim's. Yeah. So why are you getting so involved?
Right. Why are you still in it? Yeah. No,
like, why are you still in it? Like, what? And I mean, he reached out to a lot of people that I know. So he was on one.
Yeah. I wonder if he ever found out who it was. I'm sure they were disinvited.
No, I don't even know who it was. I don't know the person. So, I mean, you get sent stuff I don't even know what to believe. There's stuff consistently, but that's why I was like, did you know? Because I got sent it. I don't follow Courtney or Jim. So I wasn't aware when they were getting married or anything. I don't know the history of their relationship. Who
would have thought it would blow up to be this, right?
Oh, it's like everything. My family's even calling, are you okay? We saw the text messages you got. I'm like, at this point, I've developed a pretty thick skin, but I did want it to stop.
Yeah. Well, and as soon as you posted it, then they stopped.
Then it stopped.
What do you think about Tamra returning to OC?
I am so excited for her. Yeah. One, I think she's such good television, and Girls Trip reminded us all of that. And I think she's going to be good for the dynamic of the show. I think these women, you know, in Orange County, they were all last year felt disjointed. And I think this will bring a level of togetherness, and I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I totally agree with you. It felt like we weren't watching a core friend group, which I think what makes a really great Housewives franchise is when you know that these ladies are friends off camera. And I feel like, you know, Tamra being back involved will definitely bring that. What do you think about Taylor making history as the first housewife to kind of cross franchises?
I'm excited for her. I think she's lived in Orange County for a long time. She has a lot to offer the show. I'm excited to see it. I didn't watch Beverly Hills when she was on because didn't become like a big housewife watcher until after my first season. So I didn't know much of her history until watching Girls Trip. Of course, the stuff I read, but I'm excited to see her on the show. And I think this is great for her.
Mm-hmm. How do you think Vicki feels about everything?
I don't know. I can't imagine. I mean, I think, not to even make a joke of it, I think whenever you feel a rejection, it's hard and you have to process it. But I do know that within my own relationships, all I felt was excitement for my friend to get a job that she's really great at doing. And I want to support her. And, that's how I feel. But I mean, she's a lot.
Are you surprised, or is this a testament to both of them that their friendship is still intact despite her being back on the show, Tamra being back on the show, Vicki not being back on the show? Is that going to be hard for them, you think?
I think it'll ebb and flow. I think it'll depend how much Vicki talks about what she said, all of those different things. I think they have a long history together that no one can fully understand unless they've been on Housewives together for 12 years. I mean, just the relationship, the good, the bad, and the ugly of their relationship. I think ultimately they love and care about each other, and they're going to get in fights, but it's more just...
Right. Surprised that Vicki wasn't asked back?
No, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if she comes back on in some capacity and you start to see her more now that Tamra's there. But I think they need to, in my opinion, seeing Tamra for a little bit without Vicki will show a different side of Tamra.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I mean, you and Vicki obviously went back and forth on social media not too long ago. Why do you think she has such an issue with you?
Just not jealousy of who I am, but jealousy of the closeness that Tamra and I were effortlessly able to get. I mean, we'd met a couple of times before the podcast, but as soon as we, joined forces or whatever it is, we had so much fun, and it was just an effortless friendship. And for me, that is the biggest thing for me. The majority of the friendships that I've had since I was in grade school are the friends that, you pick up right where you left off. You have fun together. There's no animosity. There's no jealousy. It's just like, let's do this and have fun together. And I think she could probably feel that. And I think there was a part of her that was annoyed it wasn't her doing that with Tamra.
Yeah. What was your reaction when she said, I think it was on Watch What Happens Live, was, I don't like Teddi, even though I've never met her. I mean, what do you think?
I believe with all the people with Finstas and internet and the world of Twitter, I'm used to people saying that. For me, it wasn't necessarily that she says she didn't like me. For me, it was more about, this is her friend. Like, it started on Entertainment Tonight.
Right.
And even before that, Vicki came on our podcast and told me to my face she's like, I don't really, I didn't like this. I'm jealous. How much you guys paying me to be here? I'm like, well, as a guest on a podcast, you don't really make money. As a host, you do. But I made a joke. I'm like, you want me to Venmo you? And then she was pissed that I didn't. As if I'm the person that pays anybody. I'm like, no, iHeart pays me.
Wait, so she was really pissed that you didn't Venmo her?
Yes, she was mad that I didn't pay her to be on the podcast. I'm like, talk to iHeart. I don't pay anyone. I'm like, but I laughed with her the first time she said it. But then once she kind of did it to Bryce Sander on ET, and Tamra was having the opportunity to promote a show that we make money on, and she shut it down and then kind of went after the podcast. This isn't a time to talk about the podcast. This isn't a time to talk about Teddi. Mm-hmm. It was like, support your friend. You don't have to like me. You can be jealous of me and my relationship with your friend. That is what it is. But at least and then she knew what she was doing. She was kind of pandering to Twitter, and she knows that if she says she doesn't like me, there's going to be a certain amount of people that are going to go, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would you do an Ultimate Girls Trip?
Yeah, I would do an Ultimate Girls Trip. I would rather be on Ultimate Girls Trip with fresh new people than be back on Beverly Hills.
Yeah. Would you ever go back to Beverly Hills? Has that ever been have you guys had those conversations at all?
I never say never, but I did not like going back in the capacity that I did, whatever it was, a couple seasons ago. So I wouldn't do it in that capacity.
Right. What do you make of this season so far? What do you think about Kyle getting a lot of backlash about that argument between Sutton and Diana? Do you think that was justified?
I think that Twitter and Instagram are a lot louder than a lot of the people that watch the show, you know, a lot of people that actually are fans of the show. Yeah. And I think everybody has to remember you're watching Real Housewives for entertainment, and everybody feels the same way. If everybody has the same exact opinions, if nobody makes a mistake, then what are you watching?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yes, of course, there are things that she could have done differently and she could have done better. And in that scenario, but also I love Kyle and she's my friend, and people always say, you can't protect your friends, or you can't. That's exactly what happens in real life. If somebody right. is upset at your friend, you want to support them. It doesn't mean that you agree with everything that they do, but you can support them as a friend.
Yeah, definitely. Do you ever think that there will be a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills without Kyle? Do you ever see her walking away from the show?
I mean, I could see her, you know, she's been doing it for so long. I couldn't imagine, you know, but I can't imagine the show without her. Let me say it that way. I don't know whatever she would end up wanting to do, because she lives such a the difference between Kyle and I think a lot of other housewives, if she lives a very full life outside of the show. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think she is a huge part of that show, and I cannot imagine watching it without her. Even her confessionals, it's like the one, like the lighter part that you can laugh at. And especially on a season like this, that's so heavy. Yeah. Like you need that. She's the person that ties everybody together.
I totally agree with you. I mean, do you think Diana is a good addition to this season, or should it be?
I mean, when I met Diana in person, I really liked her. Mm-hmm. I think that what we're seeing here is somebody who has a lot of money and that doesn't need the show. So you can see her like putting her like, you know what? I don't need to do this. I don't need to show up. I can give this amount. And as a viewer, not as somebody who used to be on the show, I'm like, well, I don't want to see that. Get in there. Come on. There.
Yes, we need this. Yes. Yeah. I know the conversations between her and Sutton have been very uncomfortable to watch. And I'm sure.
I mean, it's like, as comfortable as Sutton in the cat sweater on the date with the. There's a flow here. Yeah. It's an awkward conversation.
It really is. I mean, what are you satisfied with this season of the show? Does it make you miss it at all? Or do you like want to get in there? Or there's like certain situations where you'd be like, oh my God, I wish I could say this.
No, not like that. It's hard for me to recap on the podcast sometimes solely because, you know, there are things that I already know from living it, but then you don't want to spoil it for anybody else. Mm-hmm. But no, I truly can watch it and separate myself. And then plus I can see the you know, the heat that everybody goes under when being on that show. And you're like, okay, you know what? I'm okay.
Right. Do you know what really happens on this Aspen trip?
I do.
Is it going to be epic?
I don't know what they'll show, but I don't know how much was filmed. Let me put it that way. Not what they'll show. I would never blame. Can you cut that out or whatever? I don't think. Yes. I don't know what actually was captured, because I know backstory, which I'm not going to fully divulge because I don't, you know, that's not who I am. Right. But I think, yeah, it'll be juicy. Yeah. But I think we have a little while until then.
I think so. I keep on forgetting that we're still only like halfway through the season, but I feel like so much has happened, especially a lot with Erica this season. And, you know, she's kind of flip-flopping on her relationship with Sutton, you know, the drinking and things like that. I mean, as somebody that knows her, what is it like watching her kind of go through this season?
Well, I think you know, the entire time I was on with Erica, I never saw her. I don't think I even ever saw her drunk. She was very buttoned up with her emotions, with her feelings. With you kind of saw her being Erica Girardi, or you saw her on stage. So I of course I have a personal relationship with her, but ultimately what I think you're seeing is somebody going through a really hard time. Mm-hmm. And as much as it's hard for me to watch as her friend, I think the reality is when shit's really hitting the fan, people will go through hard times, whether it's drinking or saying things they regret or hurting people they care about or making excuses for their behavior. That's what happens in real life and her life is exploding in a lot of different areas.
Mm-hmm. Are you the two of you still in contact?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's doing okay now?
She's doing okay.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think about Dubai?
I think Dubai has its moments where it's excellent, but I think it needs time. Like these girls need to maybe stop worrying about all the Twitter of it all. Like they're everywhere they can get on every other franchise. I think they really need to focus on forming true relationships because right now it feels like they're putting on a show.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, like I said before, you can tell when there's like a disconnect and it feels like there's a little bit of a disconnect. But yeah, there are some great moments. The fashion is great and things like that. But yeah, it's
even though, even if we think about Miami, even though Miami essentially was season 1, episode 1 again this year, a lot of them still had history from before. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these women simply have history because they're, Instagram.
Yes.
Friends or whatever it is. So you start to see the layers start to unfold as it goes on. But I'm also interested. At first I couldn't figure out, I'm like, why is production stopping because they're raising their voice? It wasn't getting physical. What's happening? And then everybody's like, Teddi, it's illegal to get in an argument. I'm like, oh, so it's like stuff like that I'm learning.
Right.
So that is interesting. And visually it's beautiful. The clothes are beautiful. The women are beautiful. They just need to get into the groove. She's a good mom.
Definitely. Well, Teddi, it is always a pleasure catching up. I'm so excited that the podcast is doing so well. I love listening to it each and every week. It's great.
Well, who do you think I should have co-host with me some of the times when Tam isn't able to because she's filming? Because she'll only do once, probably once a week.
Right. Oh, no. And you want all former housewives?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
That's what iHeart wants. So we need to, like, if you could have your dream pick, who would it be?
My dream pick. Oh God. Well, I'd love to see you and Kyle together on there co-hosting. I'm trying to think of now you're putting me on the spot.
You haven't put me on the spot 20 times today.
Must listen. I know she probably won't do it. You'd probably have to Venmo her, but you and Vicki, hashing it out,
Well, she did have her reps reach out to try to get me fired, so she could come on. But we'll see if we can get on together.
I'm trying to think other former ones. All
right, well, think on it. Let me know. Slide into my DMs.
Definitely.
Right next to the invitations.
All right. Yeah, seriously. You can have Courtney on.
Courtney, you available?
I love it. Well, Teddi, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.
Right, bye. For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.